Good morning all, good afternoon, sorry. My name is Mark from Corsair Solutions. I'm here with Johnny. We're running everything through the Lumens LC300 today. So we're just running into Teams through a NUC. And the LC300 do all the switching. All right, so the other thing, as I said, we're running this through the LC300 today, and we're running this into Teams. So we're not actually letting Teams do the sharing the screen. So I'm actually running in as essentially as a USB camera, and the LC300 is doing all the switching. So Johnny is on the chat, but if we made him a presenter, you'd basically get a side-by-side picture of my presentation and me cut off, and Johnny. So Johnny's as attendee. Feel free to answer any questions in the Q&A. I think someone said something in there now. Johnny's just said hello. We've also got the team from Corsair here. I'm the National Product Marketing Manager, and Johnny is the Regional Sales Manager as well. I should mention on that. All right, let's kick off. So hopefully everyone can see everything okay. We're going to run through the, I suppose, the Lumens Advanced Learning Management Solution with primarily the LC300. We do have some other models as well, which I'll talk about, but this is a multi-input switching, content branding, multi-channel recording with streaming capabilities, and you can integrate seamlessly into things like Panopto and Kaltura. But it can also be used in many other different environments apart from just your traditional education. So there's a lot of different applications this can be applicable for. We have a current roadshow happening at the moment, so I'll be in Townsville next week. We'll also be Brad will be over, a sales director at NAB in Las Vegas, if anyone's heading over for that. Then we've got Brisbane and Sydney and Canberra and Perth. So we will have the LC300 on display with a few of the other Lumens products as well. So who are Lumens? So Lumens are actually part of the Pegatron group, and you might not be aware, but there's over 160,000 employees worldwide. So they actually have clients including Apple and Sony and Microsoft and Asus and Tesla. So very, very large company. They have a few different divisions, although some of their strength is really in optical. The cameras are quite phenomenal. They've also got an AV over IP section, and they specialise a lot in digital image processing with their products. They supply also OEM to a lot of other manufacturers. So sometimes you'll see products that that may be manufactured by Lumens, but they're sold into other markets or they're rebranded different. So they're a very, very large company. We won't go too much into this, but there's a lot of products that are compatible with a lot of different technologies out there, ClickShare and NDI and Bosch and Zoom, and Dante and Panopto as well. There's a few other surprises coming out which people are asking us. We'll probably see in the next few months that we can't really talk about as of yet. So we're going to be talking about primarily the LC300 and also the LC300 S. These are 4-channel recording and streaming media processors with NDI support. And if I was to show you a layout of the different units, I'll go on here. You'll see there's actually quite a few different models. So we've got products like the LC100, which has a 2-channel version with HDMI and SDI in. LC100N, still 2 channels. The popular LC200, which has 4 channels and HDMI or IP, and then we've got the LC300, which is a version that we're actually using for this presentation. And this supports up to 4K streaming and recording, but we also support NDI and SRT input and NDI outputs, as well as other things like separate WAN and LAN, and also a USB UVC output. The LC300S differs in respect that it does have a 12G SDI input and a 12G SDI loop through, whereas the LC300 doesn't. So that's really, I suppose, applicable if you want to do, your 4K via the SDI. So, might back up to the top of the moment. So, what with these, why I'm excited about the units, some of the things they do: 4 IP and HDMI inputs, and also USB source inputs into the unit. So we can chop and change, but 4 at any one time. That could be an IP, SRT, NDI, USB, or a HDMI as any of those 4. It does NDI in and NDI out. We also have a USB UVC output. You can run into V systems. So exactly what I'm running here at the moment, I'm running straight via the USB out into a NUC. We're running into Teams on there. It also has 5 unique streams. So we've got 4 sources, which is camera 1, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and the program. So the program is the mix that I've got on at the moment, and that this would be considered a source. This will be considered another source, and this will be considered the program. So the 4 sources and the program mix. Those 5 streams can be internally recorded as well, and or sent to LMS systems. So here we have the front of the unit, the LC300, which I've got in front of me. So you've got on-off power, you've got USB at the front, which I've got a little webcam plugged into, which I'll show you that a little bit later. We have a screen which actually shows you what's happening on the program. So the output that you're seeing there on Teams is what you'll see on the screen. You've also got tactile buttons to record, start, stop, streaming, start, stop, and also a scene switch. So you can control it from the front buttons, or you can even run it from separate control. I just plugged the Stream Deck in actually and just fired it up with Stream Deck, so I can click these buttons and change any of the outputs as I want, or control from the unit. So very flexible in how they work. On the back of the unit, you'll see quite a few more bells and whistles than the LC200. So we've got our 4 HDMI inputs there. We have a HDMI loop through, as well as we have separate XLR in and out for your audio, separate WAN and LAN as you see there, and we have a program HDMI and a multi-view output. So what you're seeing in Teams at the moment, we can push it out via HDMI and have that on a display, as well as that is streamed out internally and externally, which we're going to talk about as well. And the LC300S has the 12G SDI in with loop through on there. Hope this is all making sense. Apologies, there is a lot of information here. I don't want to do death by PowerPoint, but I want to just show you some of the different things on here, and we're available for questions after this. So, recording, streaming, storage and automation, production and switching. I'm going to skim over these quickly, but these are some of the areas and what the LC200 does well. LC300 also does well. So we're very flexible in terms of the layout, with the recordings. So we can record the program, but we can also record each of those different sources as well. So that's 5 unique recordings. We also have a media asset management system as well. So someone or a teacher could go in later and they could say, okay, source 1 is cooking camera 1 or cooking camera source 2, camera 2, and they can put metadata. So it might be, we'll have the date and the time, and they could download those individually. And that can be done separate from streaming. So you might want to have something where it's just recording a cooking class or a courtroom event, and rather than streaming, or you can do both as well. So I'm going to expand on this, what it does, and hopefully this will make sense. So we've also got recording, and we don't have to, we've got secure recording. So we don't have to record onto the hard drive, or if the hard drive is omitted and it's a secure application like a surgery or a courtroom or something where there's confidential recording, we can specify just record to the USB device and have this locked off. The streaming, so we work straight away with standard streaming platforms out there, like your YouTubes and your Facebook Live, and there's presets in there ready for that. We also support RTSP and RTP and NDI high bandwidth streams. So there's other streams that can be run locally or externally as well. Now those streams, so the program that I'm running here into the USB, we can due to three separate platforms. So that's 3 independent streams of that of the program that I'm running through the USB. So that can be used for things like redundancy or failover, but that's handy to have that available if ever needed. We also come out USB, so I'm coming out as I'm talking about here. We're taking out into straight into the NUC here that we were actually streaming through this Teams event. We can also, in addition to those recordings and the streamings and the USB, we can also go into like LMS systems like Kaltura and Panopto. And things like the Panopto, for example, is very good with how it works in with Lumens, because they have this multiple screen select option where they can go in there and the student can select whatever the program mix or any of those sources. So if they might want a picture of me talking, or they might want to see a certain screen, they can just flick through and have total control over what they're seeing as well. So the way that works is you have the 4 inputs or inputs into the unit. You select, or the system selects how it's done, and then they're pushed out simultaneously to the learning management systems. Those learning management systems can also transcode and stream concurrently, and also record and schedule as well. So taking all, using their system just to connect into the LC300 or 300s. And with the Panopto, we also have the ability to individually select a screen, as mentioned. We also have the ability to back up to a FTP, SFTP, or NAS. So we have a built-in 4 terabyte hard drive, and this can be set also to override or loop record, but it can be set to automatically back up after the event's taken place, or just back up daily. So we have this quite often that, I get people like IT departments say, Mark, we want to be able to have copies of everything on there, and said, okay, well, let's just set this up and set up the system to, dump everything off the hard drive at say 1 a.m. in the morning to your network share, and then you've got copies and backups of it regardless whether they have access or delete it from the system. We do have, as I showed you in the first pictures, we have now a separate LAN and the WAN. So you can have your WAN to your external network, and you have your LAN connected to your internal network. So we've had things like courtroom and applications like that where they want separate networks. As one of the reasons Lumens put that into the unit. With the automated recording, the backup, something like Panopto or Kaltura will go into it and automate look after it for you. But we can actually have a schedule record, so we can add a Google or an Outlook calendar sort of periodically or as a single time, and then it can just go about its business. It might be just, as I said earlier, going and just doing a recording for a cooking class of all the 4 cameras as needed. So with the layouts, and I'm going to show you through the GUI, we have a thing called scenes. So you can see there we've got on the scenes. So the scenes are a combination of the layouts, overlays, and the background. So you'll have layouts as, pictures and picture type thing, and then you've got your images and your background. So that can be set up, and you might have a scene like this where it goes in and we have an overlay. That could be a specific scene set up, or you might have this as a specific scene, how's needed. And this can also be integrated with cameras to be automated as well, which we'll talk about. So on that, you've got the layouts down the bottom. You've also got the overlay. So we support PNG with alpha transparency. So we've got a recording and streaming down the bottom. That's a PNG with alpha transparency. And then you've also got the pictures or a background picture. So a background picture is what you're seeing down the bottom below it. So you might have a school's image or a courtroom image or something like that, or a holding slide on there. You can set that up and control that as needed. With those, we have the camera control. So you might be able to see behind me, I've got actually a TR30 here connected to the unit. So this can be set up to automatically go for that scenes. It will automatically control the camera as needed. So it can be done over IP. It can also be done over serial as well. And we've also got a control in the GUI to manually control that as well. We have some more advanced things in here. We have a thing called Intelligent Director. Now, I've got to be careful to try and explain this, not bombard you with information, but the way that this has been designed, we have tracking cameras, and we have Lumens have a thing called a Cam Connect Pro that can work with ceiling microphones and take the audio and make the cameras move. But this was designed, I suppose, of a way to have audience members and have an audience member stand up and have it trigger a change to a certain scene. So the way that it works is the automatically switches the scenes according to the status of the presenter or the audience. So the camera is just connected into the LC300, as you see there, and what they do is basically takes that information and it'll switch to different scenes or as needed. So you have like a PowerPoint here, like let's say this is like my PowerPoint I'm running at the moment, and you could have audience one down the bottom here, and we can actually have it when a person stands up, it will go to a certain layout as needed. Or we can have another area that if someone stands up in a certain region or does a special signal, it triggers and it goes to another form of layout on there. We'll talk about this in the GUI as well. But I'll just kick on to the next slides on there as well. We're going to show you some basic examples of, I suppose, of different layouts and setups of things you can do. Hopefully this will give you some ideas. So here's an LC300 set up in, say, a intelligent director, in a courtroom scenario. As I mentioned, you've got a lot of different inputs, but these having the advantage to have multiple sources recorded, like 4 sources, whether it's an IP or a HDMI, and the ability to switch between them is really advantageous as well. We have overseas, there's even some of their cameras do have multiple outputs of picture-in-picture, like a panoramic and a PTZ. So I know of applications in UK where they've had courtrooms and they've had the panoramic, might be capturing the jury, and then the PTZ might be on a judge or a specific like that. We can do things like that as well. This is also going to be recorded, so you can go over this later and ask us any questions as well. An auditorium type setup. So a bit more advanced setup here. You'll see we've got the LC300 down the bottom. We've got HDMI, a program, and a director interface, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. Streams out USB into like an NTR down the bottom there with their remote students. We then also can integrate stuff like a camera controller as well, and that can also control devices separately in conjunction with the LC300. But what you can see here is the encoders and decoders. So working over the IP workflow, the IP network, we can use an OIP N60D to decode to put out to a screen of anything from like a TR40 or the LC300 and have full control over that. And then also encode from the N40E. They've also got, with those ones there, and we'll have another webinar for this later, Dante AVH technology as well, so Dante video and Dante audio as well. So classrooms, not really advanced classroom, more a basic classroom type setup. So similar type thing, tracking camera, PTZ camera, running in. We do quite a few of these actually in Victoria where, Glenn, the new business development manager, is seeing a bit of this as well, that, schools will set this up and they'll have multiple cameras and they'll say, hey, can we put another camera in the gymnasium? And of course, if it's on the network, they can put a PoE camera in and it just comes into the LC200. So inputs and outputs as well with those OIP decoders, it's very easy and very flexible. And with the LC300 now with the NDI, it's just adding to that flexibility of the unit. So with the IP workflows on that, so you've got multiple IP streams in RTSP, NDI, they come in, it's recorded, it's switched in the unit, and then we can push out to like an OIP decoder, as I mentioned there. The OIP decoders also have a USB UVC out as well, so they can go straight into the MTR and decode, from the LC300 or 200 or from an NDI. Quite powerful units. So I'm going to run you into, I suppose, a live demonstration of the unit. and really show you, I suppose, the GUI. We have a camera here. Camera's running in via HDMI. I have a laptop source running in. I have a TR30 behind me, which is up here, and I also have a webcam as well, which we've got running, which I'll show you. So we'll go over to the GUI. Bear with me. We'll go over to here. So this is the this is basically if you log into the system through the IP. Turn my speaker down because I don't want anything to come through. This is what you'll see. This is what you'll see on there. So log into the unit. You've got your main area where you've got your system settings and your network and your service. So reset. You've got a display, and you've also got a holding slide in one of these as well. Sorry, I'm jumping around, but what I wanted to show, sorry, here, you've also got a live component on there as so I can click on here and turn the down there, and that will show you a preview of what's actually happening on there. You'll see that through the director mode, which we're going to show you in just a moment. For your account area, you've got 3 different logins. So you have a administrator login that I'm logged into here. So this gives you access onto everything I'm going to show you. You've also got an online director, which we're going to go in just a moment. And that enables you to control it from the web GUI or from an iPad as well. And then you've also got the other login is you've got a video manager. So the video manager is over here, and I was doing some tests earlier, and you can go in and you will have the go into this here. You'll see the recordings, and information can be put in here of organisation, school, court, and that can be downloaded. Now I'm just downloading the program, but you can actually have all your other recordings on there as well. This is the content management area. Leave this. So back to our main area. You've then got the sources of the unit. So you've got the 4 physical sources into the LC300. You've also got USB sources we talked about earlier. You've also then got your network sources. So there's quite a few sources in here, and I've got like a Mevo camera here I plugged in. I've got a A72 HN that's running full NDI behind me. It will automatically see the sources, and it will automatically add those to it. The other thing we can do is we can add streams on here. So we've got RTSP, but I suppose we've also got things that are more like for your more encrypted sources. We've got SRT. So SRT caller and listener in here for sources can bring those in as a source, as well as the other local sources on the network. We then have our video channel manager. So here's where we actually control what we want to go to 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can set up channel 1, and I can drag and drop like USB into channel 1 or the full into channel 2, and that will basically allow me to then switch between inputs on there. Audio, so audio source manager. So it's at the moment I've got separate mic running in, but it's giving me the option to look at the audio too off the USB camera, or it could be any of the embedded audios in the HDMI if I had that. Our encoder. So we can set up our encoder profiles here. Now, this is not streaming, this is more encoding what's happening. So we've got option to actually send a stream out of NDI, high bandwidth out, and we've also got H.264 and H.265. So I can specify the bit rate and also other information in there in the frames per second, and then we can apply that how we want to apply that, whether it's going to be a recording or a stream. So for the recording, I've got a one down here. I've got my LC300. I'm recording the program, and I'm recording mixed audio, and I'm actually got that profile there. If I wanted to record, I might want to record channel 1. I can record channel 1 source and pick the audio source and have a separate profile at a separate resolution for that as well. So you might have just a really high quality program mix, or you might need to have channel 1 or channel 2 in very, very high quality. You can set that up as needed. You then have your streaming. So you've got your profiles for your encoder. You've got the stream types on there as well, and all your protocols on there. So you've got your YouTube and your Twitch and your Facebook on there as standard, and SRTs and RTMPs and that you can set up as needed. So as I said, we've got 3 separate streams that can be going out as well as the NDI, as well as the HDMI. So it's very powerful in what can be done. Scenes, just conscious of the time here. We have our overlays. We can put custom overlays in there. We have our backgrounds, and we have our scenes down here. We could set up our own scenes where we specify what layout that we want and what background. We can then mix that into a macro where we might want to, if we go to say this layout here, we might want it to go to a certain preset or start tracking on or off. Our intelligent director. So here, this is where we have the option to control what we want to happen. So we might have something set up for the presenter and the audience. We might want the audience, when that camera sits down or stands up, it does a certain action. So we can control what happens in there. Storage on the unit. So we have internal storage. We also have external storage on there as well. So we can set that up there and how we want this to perform. We might not want to use internal storage at all. We might want to, here's where we incorporate and we put in the Google Calendar, the Outlook calendar. We can schedule wake up, standby, and then we can also go into the backup types. We want to back up daily after recording or after a backup. Sorry, no, this is probably a lot. Let's go into the configuration area here. So this is the screen running at the moment. If I was at the HDMI multi-view, you would see everything on here. With this, we can actually call these up as needed to save bandwidth. So if I click on these will come up as streams. So you see channel 1, channel 2, channel 3 with TR430 on the left, and that one there, and channel 4, which is actually the output of this from the unit. So we have the preview and we have the program that's come out here. I'm just going to stop these just for a moment so it doesn't cause confusion. So we have recording down the bottom. If I click that on, that will start recording. And we can also start streaming. So how we've got it streamed up with the settings, they'll be there. We can turn on the stream separately from the recordings. We've got stopping and bookmarking and also snapshots as well. For the video, you're seeing the output of me there at the moment. You see channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4. I've got this all paused at the moment, but if I was to, I can change channel 2. What have we got here? So channel 2, that could change to a Mevo camera, and this Mevo camera is here. You with me? There's my Mevo camera, and no, sorry, that's TR40. Sorry, lost my stuff there. Sorry. Anyway, you can trigger that through there. I don't think I've got it turned on at the moment. Actually, I don't. Sorry, my bad on that. Sorry, apologies. Let's go back onto here. My camera was off. Let me turn that on as we're going. So that's not gonna help. So we have. There's my my webcam there. So you click this on down here, you'll see a preview of that webcam down the bottom. So you can change inputs. Now it's a bit hard to see, but because I'm showing you the control screen, we also have the scenes for here. So if you look, let's just say look at the output here, do this here. I can select any of these layouts. So I might want to change to a layout. I can cut there and push that to, it shows in the program, and then we can cut it through, sorry, preview to the program. So I can select different layouts on here as needed. I might want to change to a quad, and they're different inputs, cameras, layouts. On this bit in here, it's probably a bit hard to explain, but there's the scenes, as I talked about, so separate layouts, overlays, and background. So they're all separately controllable on there, as well as selecting the sources that that come through on the unit. We have our audio down the bottom here. So this can be set to any of my audios coming in. You know, we might have, you know, follow audio, and we've got balanced audio in and balanced audio out on there. The other part we've got as well is the camera control. So we have control over the cameras. You'll see this if I flick to, you'll see the camera moving behind me. That's actually going from the control here. So you probably see it, sorry, in that little picture just up the top. So I know that's a bit of information, but that's essentially the main layout of the GUI and control of the unit, how it works. And of course, yes, you've got the main area back here, which is your main your setup area on there. So I apologise. That's probably, it was a lot of information there, but you know, we're available for chats and further information after this. It's quite flexible and powerful, but this was only supposed to be just I suppose a sample to really show you what it's all about. So thank you once again for your time, and yes, please feel free to shoot myself a message, email, or Johnny, or any of the people on the chat. And this will also be available for preview the recording. And as I said, we will have this at our road shows as well. So yes, thanks once again, and look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.